In the far future, the stars belonged to the strong. The galaxy was full of great alien empires, tall, powerful beings who ruled the systems for thousands of years. And then came the humans, small, soft and new. When humanity first joined the Galactic Council, the other species laughed. They said humans were weak. Their bodies were fragile, their lifespan short, and their weapons old-fashioned. To most aliens, humans were nothing but a noisy, emotional species from a small blue planet. But the humans had something no one noticed: persistence. When the war began, the galaxy thought it would be quick. The enemy was the Tralcan Empire, a race of tall, armored creatures known for their hunger for power. They attacked without warning. Planet after planet fell under their control. Even the strongest alien armies could not stop them. The Galactic Council sent fleets of their best soldiers. Laser cannons burned bright across the stars, but the Tralcan were too fast, too brutal. In weeks, entire worlds were turned to dust. The Council panicked. They needed more troops. And then a small human delegate stood up and said, "We will fight." The room went silent. The alien generals almost laughed. "Fight," one of them said. "You humans can barely survive our training gravity. You think you can fight the Tralcan?" The humans didn't answer. They simply nodded and left. Far away, beyond the edge of Council space, something was happening in secret. On a cold moon called Erebus 9, hundreds of human scientists and soldiers worked day and night. They called their mission project Iron Dawn. No one outside the human fleet knew what it was. Only a few generals and engineers were aware. They had seen what the Tralcan could do. They had seen human soldiers torn apart on alien soil. They had seen what happened when the weak tried to stand against the strong, and they decided to change what weak meant. In the darkness of the moon base, metal suits lined the walls, tall, powerful, glowing faint red under the lights. Each suit was made to turn a human into something more, stronger, faster, unstoppable. It wasn't just armor. It was evolution. Meanwhile, the Tralcan War spread. Human colonies were destroyed one by one. Cities burned, ships shattered, and the Council did nothing. "They brought this on themselves," said one alien commander coldly. Humans were never soldiers, but the truth was different. Humans were fighting, just not where the Council could see. On Earth, every news channel spoke of loss. Families cried. Entire fleets went missing. But in military bases across the solar system, something else was happening. Recruitment lines were full. Thousands of humans volunteered, knowing they might never come back. General Marcus Hale, the man in charge of Project Iron Dawn, looked at them from behind a glass window. He saw fear in their eyes, but also fire. "They think we are weak," he said quietly. "Let's prove them wrong." Weeks later, on a silent night above Mars, a small human fleet gathered. The ships had no markings, no insignia, only a single name on their command screens: Task Force Titan. They were the first to receive the new armor. Each soldier trained inside massive simulators. Each step they took in the armor shook the floor. Each punch could crush a metal wall. They were no longer ordinary humans. They were Titans, but the Tralcan were coming. A massive fleet moved toward the human colony of New Europa, where millions of civilians lived. The Council ordered all species to fall back. No one volunteered to defend the planet, except one fleet. Task Force Titan. As the Tralcan ships approached, sensors detected something strange: silence. No human distress calls, no defense signals. Only static, the aliens laughed. "They must have run away," one captain said. But when the Tralcan landed on the surface, they found empty cities. Then, out of the fog, something moved. Tall figures, armored, silent, their eyes burning red. The Tralcan fired first. Energy bolts hit the humans and bounced off. Then came the sound, the metal feet striking the ground. One human soldier grabbed an alien and threw it across a field. Another punched through a tank. In minutes, the Tralcan front line broke apart. For the first time, the invaders felt fear. "They're just humans," one alien shouted. "How are they this strong?" Above the battlefield, the Tralcan flagship watched in disbelief. The commander ordered retreat. But before the ship could jump to hyperspace, a message appeared on their screen: a human face. "General Marcus Hale. You thought humans were weak," he said calmly. "You were wrong." The transmission cut. Below, the last alien ship exploded in a storm of fire. From orbit, satellites captured the image. A human soldier standing among the ruins, armor glowing in the dark, smoke rising behind him. The galaxy saw that picture. And for the first time, the aliens whispered the same words. The humans are changing. The Tralcan Empire had never known fear. For hundreds of years, they ruled through strength. Their warships crossed galaxies. Their enemies always begged for mercy before the end. But now, something had changed. The reports coming from New Europa were confusing. The Tralcan commanders didn't understand what had happened. The soldiers on the ground had stopped answering. Entire battalions had gone silent. At first, the High Command thought it was a human trick, maybe jamming signals or spreading false messages. But when the last transmission finally arrived, it froze every officer in the room. On the screen, through static and smoke, they saw shapes, human shapes, walking through fire. Bullets hit them, plasma burned around them, but the humans didn't fall. One turned its head toward the camera. Two glowing red eyes looked straight into the lens. And then the signal died. The Tralcan fleet commander whispered only one word. Impossible. Days later, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The alien leaders argued loudly. The council's main hall echoed with noise. One group said the humans had found forbidden technology. Another said the Tralcan were lying to save face, but the truth couldn't stay hidden. Colonel Rhea Morgan, commander of Task Force Titan, arrived with proof. She stood in the center of the chamber, calm and silent. A hologram appeared beside her, real battle footage from New Europa. It showed human soldiers fighting like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. One soldier lifted a heavy alien tank and threw it into a mountain. Another ran faster than the eye could follow, cutting through armored drones like paper. The crowd gasped. When the video ended, Colonel Morgan spoke. Humanity asked for help. You gave us none, so we helped ourselves. The room went quiet. No one dared to answer. Meanwhile, far from the Council's world, the Tralcan Empire prepared for revenge. They refused to believe that humans, weak, small, and soft, could defeat them. They sent a new invasion fleet, 10 times bigger, 10 times stronger. Their target, the human world of Vesta Prime. But this time the humans were ready. In orbit above Vesta Prime, the black ships of Task Force Titan waited in silence. Inside one of them, Captain Eli Torres checked his armor's systems. Power levels were green, oxygen stable, weapons armed. He looked at his reflection in the helmet's glass. Let's show them what human strength really means, he whispered. The hangar lights turned red. Engines roared. The human soldiers, now called Titans, prepared to drop. Then the order came. Drop pods. Launch. Dozens of metal capsules shot out of the ships, entering the atmosphere like falling stars. Below, the Tralcan army watched the sky burn. When the pods hit the ground, they exploded open. From the smoke, the armored humans stepped out. The Tralcan commander shouted, "Fire!" Thousands of plasma bolts filled the air. The humans charged forward. Each step shook the earth. Energy shields flared around them. One Titan jumped high into the air and landed on a tank, crushing it under his feet. Another soldier used his power glove to rip open an enemy walker. The aliens screamed. They had never seen this kind of power before. In less than 10 minutes, the Tralcan front line broke. Their commanders shouted for retreat, but the humans didn't stop. They pushed forward until the entire battlefield went silent. When the smoke cleared, the Titans stood among the ruins. The human flag was raised over the battlefield. Captain Torres looked up at the dark sky. "Message sent," he said softly. That same night, the Galactic Council received thousands of reports. Every alien news network showed the same images, armored humans victorious again. The phrase power armor spread across the stars like wildfire. Some species were impressed, others were afraid. And deep inside the Tralcan command ship, the Emperor watched the footage in silence. His claws gripped the armrest of his throne. He replayed the last few seconds, a human soldier looking directly at the camera before it cut. The Emperor growled. "Find out how they built it," he ordered. "Then destroy them." Back on the human base, Colonel Morgan stood in front of her soldiers. They had won another battle, but she knew the war was far from over. She looked at the map of enemy movements glowing on the screen. The Tralcan were regrouping. A storm was coming. She spoke quietly, but every word carried weight. "They called us weak," she said. "They said we couldn't fight. Now they call us monsters," she paused. "Let them. Monsters survive." In the distance, the stars shimmered, a million lights over a silent battlefield. The galaxy finally understood something it had ignored for too long. Humans were not the weakest race. They were the most dangerous one. The galaxy was no longer laughing. Every major alien news network spoke of the same thing: humans. The weak species from the edge of the Milky Way had done the impossible. They had beaten the Tralcan Empire twice, but no one in the Galactic Council could understand how. How did humans suddenly become so strong? What kind of technology could make fragile flesh into unstoppable steel? The Council demanded answers, and once again Colonel Rhea Morgan was called to speak before them. The Great Hall was silent as she entered. Dozens of alien leaders watched her with cold eyes. Some looked curious, others looked afraid. A hologram of the latest battle appeared in the air, Vesta Prime. Human titans moved through fire and smoke, destroying enemy machines in seconds. Every punch, every blast, every movement was captured. When the video ended, one alien general leaned forward. "Colonel Morgan," he said, his voice full of suspicion, "what are these suits? Where did you get such power?" Morgan stood tall. "We made it," she said simply. "The armor was designed by human engineers. It enhances our strength, speed, and endurance. We call it the Titan Shell," the aliens murmured among themselves. The general frowned. "You used forbidden energy cores. That is a violation of galactic law." Morgan looked at him calmly. "Then maybe your laws need to change." Back on Earth, inside the hidden base of Project Iron Dawn, the engineers were already working on upgrades. The war had proven that humans could fight. Now they needed to dominate. Dr. Ava Ryland, the chief scientist, stood before a large screen showing armor schematics. The next generation of suits was under development. Faster processors, lighter alloy, better shields. They called the new model Titan Mark II. Where the first version was raw power, the Mark II was precision and intelligence. Each suit could now think, linked to an AI system that learned from every battle. But there was a risk. Too much power could burn out the user's neural system. Dr. Ryland warned the generals. "The armor listens," she said, "but if it ever stops listening, no one can control it." While the humans built in silence, the Tralcan Empire gathered its entire might. They were no longer fighting to conquer, they were fighting to survive. The Tralcan Emperor gave a single order: crush humanity before they spread. Their new fleet was the largest in galactic history. 50 dreadnoughts, hundreds of cruisers, thousands of troops. Their first target, the human stronghold of New Terra. Colonel Morgan received the report while standing on the bridge of her flagship, Iron Dawn. "New Terra will be their first target," her officer said. Morgan nodded. "Then it will be their last." She contacted the rest of the fleet. "Prepare all Titan units. The Tralcan are coming." Across human space, alarms sounded. Factories stopped making civilian goods and started building weapons. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier got ready. Even civilians volunteered to help. Humanity was no longer hiding. They were ready to fight for their place among the stars. When the Tralcan fleet arrived at New Terra, they expected fear. They found silence. The human ships floated in perfect formation. Their hulls were black, their engines glowing blue. They looked smaller than the alien dreadnoughts, weaker. But appearances meant nothing now. "Open fire," the Tralcan commander roared. Beams of plasma and fire tore through space. Human shields flared bright, but they held. Then came the reply. From the human ships, hundreds of capsules shot out, Titan dropships. Inside, armored soldiers waited in silence, hearts pounding. "Remember," said Captain Eli Torres over the comms, "we are not fighting for planets. We're fighting for the future." The pods hit the surface like meteors. Then they opened, and the Titans walked again. The Battle of New Terra became the bloodiest in human history. Tralcan soldiers outnumbered the humans 20-1. But for every human that fell, 5 Tralcan went down with him. The new Titan Mark II suits glowed blue in the darkness, faster than anything seen before. Missiles flew, lasers burned, and the ground cracked under their feet. Above the planet, human ships fought desperately against the massive alien fleet. Admiral Kira Holt shouted orders as explosions shook the bridge. "Keep the line. If we lose orbit, the Titans are trapped below." The humans refused to retreat. They had something the Tralcan never understood: willpower. Then a new danger appeared. The Tralcan dreadnought Oblivion moved into position. Its main weapon, the Starbreaker cannon, began charging. If it fired, it would destroy half the planet, and everyone on it. The humans had seconds to act. Admiral Holt sent a desperate signal to Colonel Morgan. "The cannon is charging. We can't stop it." Morgan took a deep breath. "Then we stopped the sky." She activated the secret prototype, the Titan shield, an energy barrier large enough to protect a whole continent. The power core burned red-hot as the shield expanded over the planet. The Tralcan cannon fired. A blinding beam hit the atmosphere and shattered against the human shield. The impact caused a wave that could be seen from orbit. But New Terra stood. For the first time in galactic history, the Tralcan's ultimate weapon had failed. Silence followed. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. Colonel Morgan looked up at the burning sky. "They think this is the end," she said softly. "No, this is the turning tide." The sky above New Terra burned red. The Tralcan fleet was massive, blocking out the stars. Their dreadnoughts hovered like dark giants, each one ready to crush the planet beneath. Below, the cities were in ruins. Smoke rose from streets where human families had once lived. The ground shook as the alien war machines advanced. Colonel Rhea Morgan stood on the command bridge of the Iron Dawn. Her hands gripped the rail as she watched the battlefield. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. Every weapon they had was ready. Every Titan stood at their post. But still she knew this might be their final battle. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Kieran Das, "the Tralcan dreadnoughts are approaching firing range. Their main cannons will destroy half the city in minutes." Morgan's eyes narrowed. "We hold the line. Every human soldier fights. If we fall, Earth falls next." The hangar doors opened. Inside, soldiers checked their suits one last time. Energy shields hummed. Power levels glowed bright blue. Titan marked the second units flexed their metal fingers ready for war. Then came a message from Liam Chen, a young but brilliant engineer. "I have something experimental," he said. A new suit, called Omega, stood in the center of the hangar. It was larger, sleeker, and connected directly to the user's neural system. It could make a human almost godlike, faster than thought, stronger than any machine. But there was a risk. The neural link could fry the pilot's brain. Some didn't survive. Liam didn't hesitate. "If this is what it takes to save New Terra, I go." The battle began. The Tralcan unleashed fire across the planet. Energy beams cut through buildings. Missiles shredded the ground. The humans returned fire. Missiles from the Titans ripped alien walkers apart. Soldiers in armor leapt through fire, crushing tanks with their bare fists enhanced by the Titan shell. The Tralcan thought their numbers would win. They had never faced humans like this before. Then Liam activated Omega. His suit glowed white-hot, energy streaming across the battlefield. He ran faster than the eye could follow, his fists smashing through the alien ranks. Tralcan dreadnoughts fired, but the beam bounced harmlessly off his shield. Above the planet, the Tralcan flagship targeted New Terra with its Planet Buster cannon. If it fired, the entire city would be vaporized. Morgan knew there was only one way. "Liam," she shouted over the comms, "you can stop it. Go now." Without hesitation, Liam used thruster boots to launch into orbit. The Omega suit flared like a comet. He slammed into the dreadnought's hull, punching through armor that no human should survive. Inside, Tralcan officers scrambled, firing everything they had. But Liam moved faster than thought, cutting through the ship's systems. The cannon overloaded. Sparks flew. The dreadnought shook. Then, with a final strike, Liam's fist slammed into the core. A massive explosion engulfed the ship. The shockwave lit up the sky, visible even from orbit. Below, the surviving Titans cheered. Though they knew some of their own had fallen, the Tralcan army retreated. Their fleet scattered into space. New Terra stood, battered, smoking, but alive. Morgan looked around at her soldiers. "Today we did not just fight for ourselves," she said. "We fought for every human, every planet, every life they thought was weak." She paused, then whispered almost to herself, "And we won." But victory came at a price. Liam Chen was missing. No body was found. The Omega suit had disappeared in the explosion of the dreadnought. Colonel Morgan clenched her fists. "He will become a legend," she said, "and the armor will be remembered." Across the galaxy, news of New Terra's defense spread. For the first time, humans were no longer the weak species on the edge of the Milky Way. They were the warriors no one dared to underestimate. Some aliens fled to the corners of space, whispering the name of the humans with fear. Others prepared, knowing that the next battle would be even harder. On New Terra, survivors rebuilt. The cities were scarred, but hope had returned. Children played among the ruins, unaware of the sacrifice that saved their world. But every soldier knew the truth. Humanity had awakened, and nothing would stop them now. Above New Terra, the stars were quiet. The galaxy had seen something impossible. A species thought weak had stood against an empire, and won. A whisper traveled across the cosmos. The humans are rising, and their strength is unstoppable. Years had passed since the Battle of New Terra. The scars of war still marked the cities, but life had returned. Children ran through streets once burned to ash. Ships flew again over rebuilt spaceports. Humans had survived. But the galaxy remembered. Every alien fleet, every council meeting spoke of the humans' strength. They had not only survived against impossible odds, they had won. And at the center of every story was the power armor, the Titan shell, and the mysterious Omega armor of Liam Chen. Colonel Rhea Morgan now walked through the rebuilt streets of New Terra. Statues of humans in Titan armor had been raised in the main square. One statue depicted her, standing tall with the glowing red eyes of her armor. Another, a young man in white-hot armor, represented Liam Chen, the hero whose sacrifice had saved the planet. She stopped before the statue of Liam. Even years later, she felt the loss. But she also felt pride. "Humans," she whispered, "you are unstoppable." Across the galaxy, humans were no longer considered weak. Alien fleets trained to fight like humans. Strategists studied human tactics. Legends of the Titans spread from one star system to another. Some said the Omega suit had destroyed the Tralken dreadnought single-handedly. Others claimed Liam Chen had become something more, something beyond human. No one knew the truth, and that was part of the power. On the edges of known space, a young human pilot stared at the stars. She had grown up hearing stories of the Titans, of the humans who had stood against an empire. She touched the control panel of her ship, a small smirk on her face. "The legends are real," she said, "and we are next." Meanwhile, deep in the hidden bases of humanity, scientists continued their work. They had not stopped after the war. New power armor models were being built. New weapons, new ships, new technologies that could take humanity even further. And one night, as a researcher, activated a dormant system in an old Omega prototype. A strange signal appeared on the screen, a single message, pulsing in white light. "Armor systems online." No one knew who sent it. No one knew where it came from, but every person in the room felt the same thing, a shiver of excitement and fear. The legend was not over. Back on New Terra, Colonel Morgan addressed a new generation of soldiers. They were young, eager, ready to follow the steps of the Titans. "You fight not just for Earth," she said. "You fight for every human, every colony, every life in the galaxy that may not survive without us. Remember what we have done. Remember the Titans. And remember this, they underestimated human strength once. They will not make that mistake again." Her eyes scanned the young faces. She saw fire, she saw courage, and she saw hope. From orbit, the stars looked calm. The galaxy had changed forever. The humans had risen from the edge, small and underestimated, to a force no one could ignore. But somewhere in the darkness, across the void of space, the signal blinked again. "Armor systems online," a whisper of power, of something greater yet to come, and humanity waited. Ready. The story of the Titans had begun as a secret. It had become a legend. And it would never end, for the galaxy had learned one unbreakable truth. When humans rise, even the impossible can fall. The end